How many English language learners do you think we have in the United States? What percentage of our student population are English language learners? Well, about 10% of folks in the United States in our schools are learning how to speak English, according to this book, new book, Teaching Words and How They Work. Small changes for big vocabulary results from Dr. Elfrieda Hiebert. Dr. Freddie. We had her on our show a couple weeks ago, and she shared some pretty revolutionary ideas. And tonight we are diving into a further topic near the end of her book about how to serve English learners, particularly with our vocabulary instruction and the text selection that we make. So we're finishing up this series all about vocabulary that has been inspired by this book. And I've been really impressed with it. I encourage you to get it if you don't have it. And we're going to talk all about English learners tonight. So I'm glad you're here. Welcome. I'm Dr. Marnie Ginsberg from Reading Simplified, and it's my mission to streamline reading instruction and accelerate students' reading achievement. Welcome. If you would like the handout that I'm going to be going through tonight, that includes a lot of hyperlinks to resources that are great for not just the English language learner, but frankly, all of our students, then be sure to comment somehow, say why you want them, what you want, and via Facebook Messenger, you'll have an opportunity to get that download. Let me know if it works. So if you're just joining us, we're going to be talking about how to consider the needs of English language learners in particular. These are some ideas that are inspired from Dr. Freddie Hiebert's new book, Teaching Words and How They Work. This is just a skimming of the surface of this topic. It's a really deep topic, but I wanted to make sure that we included it in this series about vocabulary instruction because our English language learners have special needs, and the things that we do to support them are actually going to really enhance the instruction for all of our students too. So welcome everyone. Glad to see that Jennifer's here, and Mashir, and Mim, and Yedid, and Sarah, and Maria. Thank you for letting me know you got the hyperlink. Yeah, so if you comment, you will get this PDF tonight. It's a new one, and it's got some links that we're going to go over tonight. And Marge, we're glad that you're here. So thanks for being here. Yep, Mashir, got you, Darlene, and Jennifer, Janice, welcome you guys. And not only do you have the opportunity to get that, but as always, if you comment with some sort of hashtag aha, you'll be able to possibly win something at the end of the evening. We are going to spin the Reading Simplified wheel and draw from among those of you who are here live that had an aha about something you really agree with or a new insight. So I'm excited for whoever's going to win. Are you ready? Let's dive into this topic about how to support English language learners. And I'd love to hear from you if you are really passionate about this idea, if you have those students and you are concerned about them, or if you have a question. So let's dive in and we'll head to this topic of the English language learner and particular things that we can do to support their needs. Now, I'm reviewing this concept from last week. We talked about the simple view of reading. I'm assuming you guys can still hear me, right? Give me some hearts or some thumbs up if you can hear me while I'm showing you my screen only. So we talked about this PDF, the simple view of reading. On this PDF, the simple view of reading. Just waiting to get some feedback from you guys. Okay, great. And this is a very, very well documented theory of research that says that really to be able to be good at reading, it boils down to just two simple things. It's not as complicated as we thought. or at least we need to think about it in terms of these two major domains. So we need to think about the simple view of reading achievement as the product of decoding and listening comprehension. In other words, if you're going to be a good reader, you have to, of course, be able to recognize the words, lift the words off the page, and then secondarily, you have to have the comprehension of the concepts, including the words, including the vocabulary, right? And we're building this whole idea from Dr. Freddie's book, from this simple view. This is sort of the perspective that I'm taking. This is not in her book, but I'm just saying this frames how I teach here at Reading Simplified, because this is a more simple view of all the complexities of how to teach reading. So decoding is lifting those words off the page, and we talk about that a lot here at Reading Simplified. So if you haven't followed our work before and you want a streamlined approach that'll work for any beginning or struggling reader, I encourage you to get this PDF by just commenting and finding it in Facebook Messenger, and then clicking on this link to watch another workshop that's very targeted in super fast ways of getting kids to be good at recognizing the words. But tonight we're really focusing, and in this whole series about vocabulary, we're focusing more on the other domain of the simple view of reading, the listening comprehension. And it's particularly about what kids know. So Dr. Hiebert said in her book that we're referring to a lot in this series, Teaching Words and How They Work, she says, if a single finding were to be identified as the most definitive conclusion from the past 50 years of reading research, it would be that knowledge about a topic strongly predicts comprehension. So what we are teaching our kiddos in terms of knowledge is what is going to make the difference for them in their reading comprehension. So if we're not, as reading teachers, building their knowledge, their knowledge of words, their knowledge of concepts about the world, if we're not building that, then we're really not doing reading instruction, or at least not sufficiently. So this is a big idea that I think a lot of us have missed in our reading education programs. A lot of our reading curricula miss this concept that really reading achievement is mostly about getting words off the page and then knowing a lot of stuff. That's what a lot of it boils down to. And what is that stuff, my technical term? Well, a lot of it boils down to the words. Folks who have large vocabularies have excellent reading comprehension. You really almost can't have one without the other unless the person has some serious decoding challenges, and then it's usually exceptional reasons for how they were able to develop large vocabulary. So we're going to take that as our launch pad for talking about the English language learner. And Dr. Elfrieda Hiebert, in her book, Teaching Words and How They Work, made a really important point about building from the known for the English language learner, particularly since if we are English-speaking teachers and we're maybe even not bilingual, we may think of the student who's learning English as having a deficit. And sure enough, they have things that they need to learn, and we need to watch out for those particular needs. But they have assets, and it's really wise of Dr. Freddie to point this out, as also many other advocates of the English learners do. So what are the things that we should point out that are assets of the English learner? I would love to hear from you guys if you would like to expand on this. But these are some ideas that Dr. Freddie gives us. She says, let's make sure that we're thinking about the things that the English language learner already has. So let's see here. My screen went down too fast. There we go. So the English language learner already has some assets in general that we need to be aware of. Did you know that the typical English language learner may have metalinguistic awareness skills that surpass the native English speaker? And what do I mean by that? Meta-linguistic, meaning meta or above the language level. So it's an awareness or perception about language differences, particularly maybe language sounds and language forms that native English speakers don't necessarily have, especially if they are monolingual, because when we are going through the process of learning a second language, the compare and contrast that we have to do between the sounds and the concepts and the grammar of these different languages push our thinking. So the English language learners in our midst, even if they're 5, they may have some assets in metalinguistics that our other students don't have. We need to draw on that and be aware of it. Another asset that Dr. Freddie points out is, hey, most of them already know the labels for the things in their environment, right? So they don't need to get taught the concept of a pencil or the concept of a pen. They just need to have the connection built for them between their word for pen and the English word for pen. So that's one thing to be aware of, and then also know, okay, sometimes we're teaching our kindergartners, our 5th graders, whether they're monolingual or bilingual or multilingual, they are learning concepts that they don't even have a label for in any language. So that's even harder for our for both sets of students. But if our young kids are coming to us and we're talking about something concrete, let's build from what they know. They already have some sort of word for book. So let's make that connection for them. And then finally, cognates. Cognates are words that have similar roots. How many of you have been teaching cognates? I hope that you have. If you have those English language learners, it's a lot easier in some of the Romance languages like French, Spanish, Italian. In this book, she references this NTC's Dictionary of Spanish Cognates, and it's amazing that there are 20,000 Spanish English cognates. So, wow, that is a lot to pull from. We can certainly connect from one to the other. And she makes the wise point about saying, let's make sure that we draw their attention to it. So the word possible, as she says, is the Spanish word posible. Excuse my accent, but they sound different. They look very similar, but the reader might not notice that. They might not have gotten to the point of being able to read the word, so we need to draw their attention to it. So be aware of their strengths, that they have the possibility of learning from cognates, but we also need to draw it out. And maybe a dictionary like this will be a great asset. If you guys have other assets for cognates, I'm sure your peers here would love to hear about it. So that's some of the things that we're hearing about tonight that are about strengths. And then we're going to get into needs, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. Yes, anytime you comment, you'll be able to get this freebie that we're referring to with the hyperlinks in Messenger. Thanks for pointing that out. Maggie says, so simple. Listening comprehension needs to happen before reading comprehension, or at least supported along the way. That's right. That's why vocabulary is so important. Absolutely. The visuals are so helpful, and we're going to be able to show some resources tonight, Melody, with regard to that. Dr. Freddie's textproject.org has some great ones, and we're hyperlinking to that. And right, it can be upsetting when it's generally completely innocently intended, because we're aware these students have this and these students don't. So we frame it as a deficit, and there are definitely needs that we need to be aware of. But we also need to acknowledge the strengths and the beauty and the amazement. I mean, I am sadly monolingual, and it's embarrassing. I mean, kids who know 2, 3, 4 languages and adults, they are more educated and they should be celebrated. So great. And thank you for pointing that out, Catherine. Yeah, kids have rich life experiences, and even in the similar vein, when we talk about kids from poverty, sure, they may not have the exposure to the museums and the libraries and the moms and dads who talk with them extensively, but they have experiences from which we can draw from too. So either way, let's draw from what our kids have. Yes, we've got some folks who are saying a lot of languages have the cognates, and of course, they've got the concepts already in their language, unless there's something new that they're encountering, like a new type of food that they've never seen before, or a new fruit. Yes, absolutely. They can understand the concept. They just need the vocab to put it together. So the concepts aren't hard. It may seem like the concepts are hard because they may not be connecting with you, but it's really the vocabulary by and large. Cher says, English for my students is a second language. Comprehension needs are massive and it's hard work. The good news is when they comprehend, they become highly motivated and confident. That's a good word. Thanks for saying that. Carol, I like that. In her experience, the English language learner students understand long before they actually begin to speak. Yeah, there's certainly, that was how I was when I was trying to learn German. I didn't talk so much. I was just trying to listen. Woo, that's impressive. 3 languages. He's going to teach us all someday. Okay, so let's get back to this, these things that we're going to need to watch out for that are particular needs and strengths of the, oops, I just did the wrong thing. Let's try that. There we go. The needs and strengths of the English learner. So we talked about the strengths, metalinguistic awareness, labels already in their native language, and the potential of building on their cognates. But of course, the background knowledge is generally the thing that's going to be hurting them the most. And she pointed out in this book, Teaching Words and How They Work, a really interesting point about even just concepts from different cultures. So in narratives, we're more likely to encounter concepts that a different culture may not know. For instance, we have so many books these days of the fractured fairy tales. They're so popular. And who gets a fractured fairy tale? Well, only the person that, to really get it, you can only really get it if you know that it's fractured from the original fairy tale. So if you're going to read a fractured fairy tale, maybe you want to start with the original, or give that one to the kids that don't know, you might not know it, or, you know, that kind of thing. So be aware of even those concepts that are particular to maybe the United States or Australia or Western civilization, or even your, you know, your region. Just concepts, let alone words and knowledge. That's just one example of background knowledge kind of be aware of. In nonfiction, sometimes it can be a little, the playing field can be a little bit more leveling early on, because all the kids are learning about seeds and plants and stems and whatnot. Another thing she said to watch out for is to make sure that we don't undermine their agency as readers, because it is a struggle to be learning a second language when you're in school. I got to study abroad, and I found it very, very nerve-wracking to be in a culture where I was trying to learn a second language and study in that language. So it's easy to get the opposite of agency. What's the very extreme opposite of agency is learned helplessness. But the alternative that Dr. Freddie is encouraging us to be pushing and developing in our students is agency. And she says, agency is the construct that describes, sorry, there's a typo, describes students' dispositions or beliefs related to their control over and confidence in learning. Students with a sense of agency take an active role in their learning. Students who believe that they do not have the capacity to be good readers will be less engaged in a reading activity. So how can we build our students' agency? One of the simplest ways is when we're doing text sets and working on a theme, which we've been talking about this whole series, right? How when we build thematic knowledge through networks of language, when we do that and we're moving into a new text, we can keep pointing out, hey, look at these words that you learned yesterday or last week. You already learned about seed and green and plant. We're going to see those words, and now you'll know what they mean, and we're going to learn some new words. So it is continually pointing out, hey, look at what you've done. Look at what you've accomplished. But we're going to go on a hunt to find some new things that we're going to learn. See what you can learn today. That's just a framing of it that is not all that it's going to take to create agency. The other thing that really helps create agency is to make sure that they know how to decode. They have to be able to access the words on the page too. So that's why I'm pretty passionate about that here at Reading Simplified. Our kids are stumbling on that part when it doesn't have to be as hard as it often is. So let's make sure we're building their background knowledge and the sense of that they can do this, right? So one of my thoughts with this whole series about teaching words and how they work is to try to give you some resources that you can easily pluck from and get started with. That's why if you comment on this Facebook Live and you're in Facebook, our Reading Simplified Facebook page, you'll be able to get this PDF in Messenger and then snag some hyperlinks. So what are these various resources that I'm going to refer you to, okay? We've been talking about them this whole series. The resources at Text Project are unbelievable, but I don't want you to get overwhelmed, so I'm going to give you some more ideas about how to use it. If you're going to try to build agency and build the background knowledge too, and you've got beginning readers, whether they're struggling or like they're actually beginning or they're struggling and they need the beginning part of the English written language, her beginning reads, there's another typo, sorry. Beginning Reads at textproject.org is a fabulous resource. It's quite unbelievable how many things are there for free for you. And what is great about it is that she's created text sets that are on a theme. So I'm going to show you a theme today for all these resources. Say you're teaching seeds and plants. Would you like to see some samples of her stuff and also some things at Article of the Day? Should we get into that? Okay, let's check out the beginning reads. This is just one example. Actually, let me first start with where we're headed. If you were to go to Text Project, let me pull it up. There we go. If you're going to Text Project and go to Classroom Materials and chose Student Text, textproject.org, then Classroom Materials and Student Text, this is hyperlinked on your PDF, then you would see this beginning reads. And the beginning reads has a host of text sets that are on a theme. So the vocabulary networks that we've talked about in the recent videos are easy to build. And vocabulary in terms of concepts, but also in terms of decoding. So these are things like a lot of food, breakfast, milks and buns, dogs, cats, black and white, in the sun, sand, up and down, very basic concepts, which are particularly important for our English language learners. So they get that early vocabulary, prepositions. You know, seeing it in a book is a lot easier than a teacher trying to talk about it with you. But in level 5 right here, which is not super advanced, we got the unit on seeds, I think it was, that I pulled up. So let's go look at that. Claire says, background knowledge is fundamental. Must check out that link. Yep, it's good stuff. So let's go back over here. Okay, this one. Yeah, this one. Okay, so this is the beginning of her text sets for a garden. Okay, so it wasn't seeds and plants, it's a garden, but it's the same concept here. And so she's got more than one on the general theme. These are just 2 pages, 4 pages of the reading. So it's a garden. Here's page 1 and page 4, and here's page 2 and 3. Notice there's not a lot of text on the page, and there's some repetition that you'll see. There's the words dirt and garden and grow and seeds. You'll see that a lot. Okay, so you're building concepts. You can make networks of these words, which will tie into something else I'm going to show you on her page soon. But it's not just reading that one. You keep reading on this theme, right? Here's one on corn. It's going to have some of the same terms. We've got grow, we've got seed, and now we have the word green added multiple times. The roots are not green. Do you see my corn plants growing in the dirt? They are green. And up above, and yellow and white. So you've got a couple color words in there. And then there's a third one called seeds we can eat. You've got seeds here on 2 words on that page. You've got seeds here, three or three more times. You got the word sunflower, the compound word. You got that 2 or 3 times, actually 4 times on one page. And this keeps going, you guys, till page 24 pages, maybe 12 books, I'm not sure, 10 books or something like that. And there's the repetition of the words across lunch, lettuce, green, carrots, seed, plant, grow. We've got bigger and bigger. Carrots are a lot in here. Here's carrots again, lettuce again, corn again. Isn't this cool, you guys? And the pictures are fabulous. They're showing children from all over the world. We got seeds and dirt and so on. It's just a great, and this is just one of the text sets. So this is going to build the decoding skills, or help build it, but then also these concepts, which we're going to build through networks and through this reading and rereading of these types of text. It's really going to pay off for not just our English language learners, but our English, but even our native speakers, I should say. So that's just one of the great assets at Text Project that Dr. Hiebert has developed. Isn't that cool? Who has used that before? And Melissa is asking a great question. Yes, it is free. And Sarah is a tutor, and she says the repetition of the words really helps her first grade student. Absolutely, free to download and print. This is a great point. Drawing from what Dr. Freddie said, they already have labels. Let's help them learn the labels from the new language. Themes support English language learners as they often have already established language for the topics, which help them have a hook into their own language and English rather than having everything seem abstract. And the pictures are one way in which she does that really well. So if you were to also go here to Text Project and Classroom Materials, actually not Classroom Materials, yeah, Classroom Materials, then go down to Word Pictures. See if I can find that. This is a section under Word Pictures and Core Vocabulary. We've talked about this before in this series, but each of these PDFs here is a collection of core vocabulary from the 2,500 word families that make up 90% of the words that they're going to see in all of school, all K-12. So these are really core. And she's grouped them by topic. So we compare the text sets that we might be using at beginning reads or article of a day, which I'll show you in a minute, with these images and give them the sense of, oh, look, I know this. Now I'm adding to it. I've got these concepts. I'm building to it. I'm developing agency. So if we were to scroll down, we would find here's plants and where they grow. So you could pair this with those text sets, a lot of images that they could learn even more than what they are even seeing already in the little text booklets. So here's plants and where they grow. She gives you a little overview, and then this is what I love. Remember, we're talking about how to build the networks. Maybe you build this type of graphic with your students. And so for each of these categories, like specific types of plants, which is here in this yellow, red, green circle, there's subcategories that are fleshed out with more words. So let's check out what's the first category. So the first category is general types and parts of plants. So this is another breakdown. You could talk about the general types of plants and the parts of the plants. The general types of plants would be like plant, bush, tree, flower. The parts of the plants would be trunk, bark, branch, leaf. So that is so awesome. You can tell your kids, hey, today we're going to see the word plant and bush, which we already read about, but I bet you're going to learn some other words. Let's keep listening. And as we read for a new word that we might be able to put onto our chart, so you could have a blank chart and keep adding to it. And this is this bundle, which we've pointed out here before, plant, but it's just particularly important for the English learner. Bush, tree, it's beautiful, isn't it? Flower, vine, fruit, vegetable, trunk, bark, branch. Easy to turn this into a PowerPoint or some sort of sharing in your classroom. Maybe print them as images for the kids to sort. They could sort them by spellings or sounds. They could sort them by categories. Lots of things they could do with them as they are reading. Of course, there's the word seed, which we saw several times in the garden book set. And then here is the new grouping, plants and where they grow. So then you could do these other categories, specific types of plants, the grass family, lawn, grass, hay, straw, types of vines, ivy or grapevines, types of trees, maple, pine, oak, redwood, apple, ancient plants and plant-like organisms, algae, moss, fruits and vegetables, beans, peas, and so forth. Isn't this amazing? Yeah. Maria says, very nice pictures. That grabs our students' attention, doesn't it? And Fatima says, awesome. Who is already using pictures on a vocabulary word wall? Yes. Yes, I can't. What a life's work this is. Yeah, she has had colleagues to help her, but she's been leading the charge. You can see different people getting credit all throughout her website at textproject.org, but this is really, you're right, it is a huge work. You're welcome. I'm just pointing it out, Melinda. So, okay. So we are talking about, back to this. That is one way to tie in for the English learner who may be very new to the English language. The beginning reads can be really helpful. So in here at Reading Simplified, we're often talking about giving them mostly decodable readers that they can quickly learn the code, but it might be nice pretty quickly after they've learned a little bit of how to decode simple things to pair texts like this that are they're not driven by decoding, except that they're more, they're controlled in the sense that they don't have a lot of words and they have the repetition. And so that's a nice pairing, particularly for the English learner. Now I want to go back to the article of a day because this is a great pairing. Again, Dr. Hiebert was behind some of the inspiration for the article a day at readworks.org. We talked about that last time, but I'm just going to point out a different way of using some of the same resources to pair images, text, and text sets. So again, same theme, because we know being on a theme is going to build our students' knowledge. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. So this is a kindergarten set from Article a Day. And it's got these different passages. They're short, 69 words for the first one, How Do Seeds Grow, 90 words for the other one. Maybe this is first grade, actually. So here's one, How Do Seeds Grow? Notice how many words are repeated. You see the word seed a lot, and plant, and grow, and grown. And that's just the first passage. This could be paired well with beginning reads, maybe as something that's for harder when they're further down the line, or maybe read as a group, or maybe to differentiate for your readers who are further down the path. Wind helps plants grow. Again, we've got more words repeated. We got seed and grow repeated. Then we're adding the word wind. Notice how many times wind is there. Wind is air that moves. And then there's the word air several times. When air moves, it blows things from one place to another. Wind blows seeds around. That allows new plants to grow. And so the word flower is there. A man who liked apples. Bring in your apple. And what is it in Spanish? I'm not going to make guesses. Here we've got the word grow again, and we've got grow, we've got apples, apple, apple seed from Johnny Appleseed. So it's just a great resource. It keeps going. Seeds, pumpkins, sprouts, vines, blossom, young pumpkin, full-grown pumpkin. And fruits have seeds. Now, if you go to article of a day, you can choose a different reading level. That was just an example of either first or kindergarten. I can't remember which. So this is readworks.org, which again is hyperlinked at this PDF. But you can just type in, I typed in seed, and up came life science first grade, plant seeds and growth. First grade, fruits have seeds, plants and their seeds, which has a paired text, that's kindergarten. Seeds need to move, that's second grade level. How do seeds grow, that's kindergarten. Insects and animals that pollinate plants, that's second grade. Plants and animals, that's 8th grade. So you got a lot of choices here at Article of the Day to pair all of these resources. So you got beginning reads, you got the images, and you got Article of the Day, all sorts of ways to create the network and the themes, and to keep drawing out students' knowledge. Look at what you know. You learned seeds and green and plant and grow this week, and we're going to build on that. What grows? Well, plants grow, and sunflowers grow, and trees grow. Let me show you what a sunflower looks like. And then you show them this picture, and here is the stem of the sunflower. And of course, you're going to need to tie it back maybe to a flower that they do know if they haven't seen a sunflower before. Start with what they know, and then build to something that's new and unknown. So those are all some great resources for reading. But I'm kind of taking it a little further today and even recommending something else. I also want you to think outside the box if you haven't done this before, and think about podcasts and videos. Another fabulous way to support the background knowledge and the building of the concepts, particularly for our English learners, but everybody's going to benefit from this. Who has heard of Brains On? They have at least, actually, I know they have 3, but I had 2, had room to hyperlink here. So you can go to Brains On and get a podcast about trees, or get one about carnivorous plants. And these are really polished podcasts with lots of sound effects and children and adults dialoguing together. So it's very child friendly, but it's teaching these concepts, and they're really powerful. So I encourage you to check that out. They have a really long episode list. They've been doing this for a while. So a lot of the concepts that you're going to try to build on could be something that you find there as a resource. So they have this one, Trees from Seed to Shining Seed. And you just listen. You can listen online, or you can download a podcast app, or you maybe have like the iTunes app, and you can download the podcast and just play it right off of your device. So who has been doing podcasts like that? That's just one example. There's, of course, others, but I'd love for you to. Yep, we got some already getting ahead of me there, Sarah. So besides that, besides the podcast, then there's videos. So here's a link to SciShow Kids video. These look really great. I'll show you an example. This is on YouTube. If you can't show YouTube, maybe you can record it and just show it to your class. But this is a short video. It's just 3 minutes. It's actually pretty fast paced, so I think a lot of kids would need to watch it more than once. But great production values, very interactive, entertaining, and it's going to reinforce the things that the students are reading. So I encourage you to check out SciShow Kids if you're doing anything about science at all. And if you're not, you should be, because we've been talking about how, as this point, as Freddie's point here is, that if a single finding were to be identified as the most definitive conclusion from the past 50 years of reading research, it would be that knowledge about a topic strongly predicts comprehension. So we've got to give our kids the vocabulary of science and social studies and art and music so that they can comprehend for the tests, but also just for things in general in life. And then besides these texts that students might read, of course, there's a wealth of resources from your library. So we're basically kind of drawing on all those good ideas that we had if we were whole language teachers at one idea. Thematic learning, coming to students with all sorts of sensory input that stimulates their interest and their engagement and helps things hook. So these are some very well-known books that reinforce that concept of seeds and plants and whatnot. So if you're doing that, you could pull these books, but if you're not, then just go and talk with your librarian and get a few books to read aloud to the kids and build their knowledge that way. Here is Gail Gibbons from Seed to Plant. Her books, nonfiction books, are outstanding. So if you don't know her work, just go find anything from Gail Gibbons, and it'll probably be a good book on any really important nonfiction topic that we all should know about, but great for elementary students and middle school students. In fact, I wonder if some of them would be good for high school students who need to fill in some gaps. Another one is, sorry, get out of there, How a Seed Grows. These are a series that's really good. This one's by Helene Jordan. Let's read and find out science. I have a few of these that they seem to be really good. Sorry, it's going slow. Kate Messner has a beautiful book. It's really pretty to look at. Up in the Garden and Down in the Dirt. And this one is more of a story. Lola Plants a Garden. There's a whole series of books about Lola. And another one I picked, there's many, many more, but these are just ones that are probably readily available. And who doesn't love the Magic School Bus? They probably have a video too. The Magic School Bus Plants Seeds, a book about how living things grow. So those are just some ways to build background knowledge for your students, pointing out what they know, drawing their attention to expand to new things, and ways to do it, coming at it from lots of different angles. Your listening center could be some of these podcasts. Your read aloud could be some of these library books. Your small group instruction could be beginning reads. Your whole group shared reading could be article a day. On the wall, you could have a graphic organizer that you're gradually filling out based on the words that the students are finding. And also, if they do independent reading time, they could pull from these books that are coming from the library. So they get the choice. They're still reading on the topic and some content knowledge that's consistent, and but they get to self-select the books. Maybe they just get a Post-it note and write down words that they need to learn or that they want to put on the word wall. Maybe you're also taking those images from text project like STEM and sunflower and putting them on word walls, decorating your classroom with that. How does that sound, you guys? I know I don't want it to be overwhelming. I'm hoping to kind of go back to the big basics. You need to really think about decoding and linguistic comprehension or listening comprehension. We're doing a great job of listening comprehension, of decoding here at Reading Simplified. So make sure you know how to go about teaching decoding if you don't have a way to get everybody up to grade level pretty rapidly. Then check out this PDF and click on this hyperlink here to find out more. A really quick webinar we call 3 Activities a Day to Keep Reading Difficulties Away. We'll give you the gist of just 3 activities that make a big difference for cracking the code. And then when you're thinking about that listening comprehension domain, make sure you are building knowledge thematically, systematically, with an emphasis on words and networks of words. Going back to the first night of this series with Dr. Freddie, she said, hey, what we're doing a lot is in our reading basals is reading a story and then having 5 to 8 words kind of randomly picked out of those books and trying to teach them. But we're not picking words that are important to the content or the coherence of the story, and we're not relating those words to one another, and we're not necessarily relating them to other things. But when we come to a text and think about words that are there that we can build on and expand to other words and make connections and networks, like you've seen some of these examples with plants, then we're going to be able to build a lot more words, and they're probably going to hook better. They're going to be connected meaningfully. So Sarah asks a really good question. This book talks a lot about the new frame that we should go about thinking about things. And she talks about 4 instructional ways to make things fairly easy for us. So she suggests that there's 4 C's. Let me get them right for you. Because she's saying, you know, it's overwhelming to redo everything. So how are we going to get the small changes for big vocabulary results? She says, let's think about making small adjustments with just 4 types of instructional routines in our classroom. So let's think about the conversations that we have, which I could tie into this concept we talked about today about agency. Are we making sure that we're pointing out kids that they have power, that they can discover things, they could learn for themselves, and that we're going to brag on what they already know? That's just one of the conversations. Another conversation would be how words have multiple meanings. Like bark could be the dog barks, or the bark on the tree. So always bringing up that conversation. Isn't our language amazing? Conversations. She says, let's build collections of words. So that's the routine that we kind of referred to. Do we have a word wall? It doesn't even have to be on the wall, but maybe kids have their own dictionary, or maybe we have chart paper that we're bringing out for a week or 2, and then we bring out a new diagram that we're building for the next couple weeks, and then we refer back to it. Collections of words, conversations, collections of words, core reading. What are we reading as a group, as a community, for read alouds, for shared reading, for small group instruction? Make sure that some of that work is not random and haphazard, but thematic, and that we draw the words out of those core readings. And then similarly, choice reading. Are we giving them choices that are on a theme? Are we giving them choices that they're going to pull words from on their own and develop agency and develop the knowledge of how to figure out words that they haven't been told? So those are the 4 C's. She gives examples throughout the book. Anytime she teaches a new concept, like the concept of how diverse the English language roots are, that it comes from Latin and German and whatnot. So we'll get that concept to our kids. Not that they know everything about the history of the English language, but just to understand its complexity and the roots of it. And that's why some of our spelling is kind of wonky. So then she'll talk maybe about how we are going to have conversations about that, how we might build collections of words for that. We might do especially core reading, that we pull that topic out, and then we'll do choice reading. So the 4 C's: conversations, collections of words, core reading, and choice reading. Good question. Thanks for catching it there for us, Anita. Great notes. Okay, so I think we should get a winner, Greg. How about you? So Maggie, I'm going to give like a really high level summary. Back to, she's asking, how can these all be in a literacy block? So let's go back to there's a lot of possibilities. That's kind of why we're not trying. I want to give you possibilities and not make you kind of be pigeonholed, because all of us come from different backgrounds, and we're going to have different things that are that we're insisted on, that we are expected to do. So if we're going back to some of these ideas that we talked about, maybe you're going to do read alouds about seeds from this list as a whole group. Every day you're going to do a read aloud. You might even have a nonfiction, a fiction novel that you're reading for 2 weeks, or a novella that has something to do with gardening or seeds or growing, but that's not the main point. But then you also have a lot of read alouds you're doing that are nonfiction. So every day have a read aloud. I would encourage it to be at least 20 minutes, hopefully 30 minutes, at least total, maybe 2 different times of day. If your students can't sit for 30 minutes, do a 10-minute and 20-minute, or 2 15-minutes. So a read aloud is a super important point. So what you're picking for your read aloud is what you might be tweaking. Are you picking it on a theme? And then in either a whole group or small groups, perhaps pick thematic sets like this beginning read set, where you're going to be reading texts that are have a lot of related concepts and a lot of related words. they can then be encouraged to keep a notebook of like a word wall or some sort of semantic map. That could be a whole class activity, and they can also expand on it in their choice reading. So maybe they read, like with Reading Simplified, we recommend a reading routine of the teacher and reading a text with the student working on it in a small group, and then going to a literacy center where they reread it. So maybe in their center where they're rereading it, they're also adding to a little notebook where they build more on this graphic organizer. Maybe this beginning reads would be great for small group instruction, but maybe the read works being a little more challenging, maybe that would be better for shared reading. Maybe the whole class could read this together, and then they get really good at it as a class. So you have these possibilities with shared reading, whole group reading, independent reading, small group reading, where you're bringing in all these resources. And of course, the videos and the videos work really well with whole group, but podcasts can also be pretty easily done for independent learning. So like the Literacy Station. So those are just some brainstorming based on some of the core routines you probably are going to want to have in a good English language arts classroom. And then never mind thinking, I didn't even bring up the writing, and that would be an excellent way to draw. Let's have our little notebook of words. Can you write something about what you learned? That is actually part of the article a day from ReadWorks, that they read one simple thing, and at the end they write one thing that they learned, 1 or 2 sentences. They keep it in their notebook, like our book of knowledge. And of course, they're going to be using words that they have pulled from the text, and they're going to be thematic. So they're going to probably get the word seeds and grow and plant down by the end of the week or by the end of 2 weeks. So writing, read aloud, shared reading, small group reading, choice reading. Can they take something home? I forgot to mention at text projects. If you go over here, let me show you, text project, go to beginning reads. Let me see if I can show you. There we go. If you go to beginning reads, you can also download these text and toolkit for tutor resources, and then you'll see one page that they could take home of all the text. And I'm not sure I have that. Let me just pull that up. See if this works. That's not it. But it's just one page, so it's pretty easy to copy and send that home for homework reading. Sorry about this, you guys. Let's see if I have it. Well, it's there. You'll just have to trust me about it. And then one more thing I forgot to mention, she also has on her website in lists 25 common Spanish words and their relationship to English literary words. So that can be helpful. Arbor, the Latin root, and arbol, bird, avis, bonus, good. So that you can find at Text Project. I'm pretty sure that's under lists. So she's got lists of words. Another thing that I'll just point out real quickly, maybe you can explore it if you haven't thought about this before, is particularly applicable for the upper elementary and middle school and high school teachers. You can also get there and other places the academic word list. So this is just a list to be on watch for words that are particularly used in academic writing and text, science, social studies, whatnot, like capable and contract and compare, contrast, and approximate and area. So you wouldn't teach this in alphabetical order, but they're just words to be aware of that you'll find in a lot of academic texts, and it's not too long, and so it can kind of be something you could keep. It's 570 total. So that's also a link on that lists page that I was just pointing to. lists and forms, the academic word list. It's not just her work, but it's something you can find in other places, but it's a great resource for helping kids prepare for textbook reading, especially, or just kind of any content area for the upper grades. Okay, so did we get a winner? Let's see. ReadWorks is leveled by Lexiles, at least, Karen. I'm not sure if it's F&P. So it's time for our winner. Oh, I think we do. I see some congratulations. Desiree, make sure you stick around to find out what you won, and then check your messenger because Greg will reach out to you. Okay, ready? Low battery. Don't worry, we're going to be able to make it. Okay, what is Desiree winning? Whoa, this doesn't happen very often. You are going to win, Desiree, a 3-month membership to our Reading Simplified Academy. And that is how we teach anyone how to read words, how to recognize how to read words and become fluent. It can be useful to help you teach beginners or help you teach those who struggle. It is a streamlined system for doing that quickly and easily. So congratulations for winning that, Desiree. And if you're already a member, then we'll have to give you an extension. So here's the Reading Simplified Academy. We've got lots of courses, but 1-hour courses for advanced learning. But the main course is this Reading Simplified Academy 8 to 10 hour course. And in there, you're going to learn in, like I said, 8 to 10 hours, the gist of how to teach anyone how to read. And because it doesn't take 1,000 activities, we've boiled it down to just a few core activities and a simple system so that you can get those decoders moving so that they can recognize words, they can become fluent, and then the comprehension will be the rest of their life's work because they need to build knowledge. And Carol's pointing out, yeah, oh, you're in your 2nd month, Desiree. Okay. So we'll have to figure out if you can get an extension, Desiree, or if you're paying monthly and you want to stop and have a pause. So text with Greg via Messenger. Thank you, Carol. So that's just one activity there that you learn. We would teach you not only, just for anybody else who doesn't know about the Reading Simplified Academy, because decoding is a very important part of the equation for becoming good at reading achievement. We teach you how to deal with students' errors, super important. And then we're also there for you for feedback. That's in our teacher's lounge. So it's just a discussion board where we're there to give you answers and encouragement. Like someone just said after watching the guided reading video that it was very helpful and they'll be changing their strategies with students tomorrow. And I just popped in there with an answer. So congratulations for maybe getting some extra months. And we are wrapped up. Now we're wrapping up this whole series on teaching words and how they work. Look for our the summing up of all of this on our blog in the next few weeks. And next week here at Reading Simplified, we're going to have a guest who is the creator of some fun games for learning advanced phonics. So I bet you'll enjoy that. We normally go live on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. So with trainings and free resources. And so I bet you'll be pleased with our guest and how her games can help and boost enthusiasm and decoding. So yeah, Joe, Desiree did win our biggest prize. It doesn't come up very often. So thanks for everyone being here tonight. And I hope your teaching goes great. And here's to making great readers.